This is Say It So They Get It, where real business owners get clear on what they do and how to say it so it actually connects.
Welcome to Say It So They Get It, the podcast where we help business owners clearly explain what they do, who they help, and what makes them different. Because if people don't understand what you do, they can't hire you, refer you, or buy from you. I'm Sean Deegan, the host, and today I'm joined by Leah Ranalli, the owner of Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. Leah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So most people know Benjamin Franklin Plumbing is a company that fixes plumbing problems. Today, what I want the people to get to know about you is the person behind the business and the people behind your business. Because I always think that's so relevant to who you deal with, right? I mean, we talk about establishing relationships and getting to know and trust people. And I think that's a big part of it. First, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become the business owner in a plumbing business?
Well, my husband and I started our first business in 2018. We were in the logistics and trucking space. We're Amazon contractors, and we vertically integrated other businesses like mobile mechanic and auto body and paint shop. And that showed us that we had this great pool of talent with our drivers. And we started kind of farming our talent from the drivers that we were hiring, because it was like an entry level position. And we had the opportunity to mentor and grow some of these young men into mechanics, into body techs, paint. And then we thought, well, what else can we do? And then we thought, why don't we try plumbing? So that's kind of how we got here.
So other than why don't we try it, was there something in particular about plumbing that attracted you guys to the business?
Absolutely. My dad has been a tradesman since I was born. He was in the Navy, where he learned how to work on nuclear submarines. And, he owns a commissioning company that goes out and does electrical work out all around the world, actually. So
Mm.
I was exposed to the trades at a very young age. My first job was with my dad at a construction site. And I just think that there is so much value in the trades. And I think that one of the things I realized with my employees that are drivers, a lot of people, college isn't for them. My dad was also a person who just didn't go to college. He's wildly successful and he grew a business, just with the skills that he learned in the Navy and being an entrepreneur. So I started looking into different trades, electrician, HVAC, and plumbing stood out to me. One, because it's very challenging, but also it is AI proof. It is something where we train these young men and there is no AI software or algorithm or anything that's going to be able to do what they do.
Right. And I certainly understand that. In fact, I've had your guys at my house a couple times to do work, which they're fantastic. But, I had a background in construction. I grew up framing houses here in Tucson and then was a general contractor in the commercial side for a while. But I tell my wife all the time, I hate plumbing because plumbing is not forgiving. Like if you're a rough-in carpenter or framer, you can fudge some stuff, drywall, a little bit extra mud here and there. Plumbing is absolutely not forgiving at all. And again, that's one of the reasons I called you guys. So I can understand that. And AI proof, there's a lot of stuff that AI is starting to do, but it certainly can't sweat a joint and then make sure that's not leaking. All right, let's talk a little bit about the services that you guys provide. What services do you guys have?
We provide residential plumbing services, anything from water heaters, water filtration, leak detection, sewer line, water line repairs, repipes, what any standard plumbing company does. We also partner with New Flow for pipe relines. We outsource that. But I think what sets us apart from other plumbing companies, it's not really the services that we offer. It's more the people that are in your home. These young men have been a part of my life for at least 8 to 6 years. I've seen them get married, buy houses, have children. And we have really high fidelity individuals at our plumbing company. In fact, they're actually at my house right now. No one's home. And they're doing some plumbing work for me. That's how much I trust them. They're background checked, drug tested, and we really want people to feel comfortable with our teammates in their homes. And I think that's really a part of plumbing that I didn't consider until I had my own plumbing issue. I had a huge catastrophic leak, and the plumbing contractor that we worked with actually made it worse. Long story short, I ended up not living in my house for 3 months. So I just think that what we want to do is provide a high level, white glove, high quality service with full transparency and honesty. We always want to give you a good, better, best option. We understand that when emergencies happen, sometimes you're not going to be able to afford those big repairs. So we'll do what you ask us to do. We're not going to try to upsell you, and we're not going to try and make you feel scared and capitalize on your fear during an emergency.
That speaks volumes because too many companies out there are going to take advantage of people that are in a crisis, right? You call somebody that may take a while to get somebody there in the first place, but then to have somebody be there and then drop this big bomb. So that is awesome. I love that about the way you guys do that. And if I can share a story, you talked about the guys and how professional they are. And I just redid my shower in the master bathroom and I left. My wife was alone in the house. Now, sometimes women get a little nervous about that. And I will tell you this, Leah, I talked to her twice during the day and she's like, I don't even know if they're back there still because David showed up too. She said they were so quiet. It wasn't like there was loud noise booming. It wasn't like there was jokes and laughing and, you know, profanity being slung all over the place. She said they were so quiet, so professional. They would walk out the front doors, they'd wave to her. And she's like, they were just the most polite gentlemen. And she felt so safe with them in the house, working in our master bathroom. They were talking about they had to turn the water off and making sure I was ready for that to happen. I mean, I was so proud of your guys that they have that much respect for people. And again, especially a woman, you know, and you can talk about that a lot more than I can, but you know, the idea that you've got a contractor in the house. It wasn't like they were coming out and telling her, "Oh, we've got to fix this," but she was just like, "They're so quiet." David left and I got back and Dom was here and he was cleaning up and the place was cleaner than when they got there because I still had some construction debris there and I just kudos to you and to your guys. And that is one of the big things that I wanted to make sure people understand is what you said is actually happening out at your customers' homes.
That makes me really happy to hear. I think it's the highest form of praise to hear that your wife, had a great experience with contractors because I think a lot of people have had some difficult experiences from, getting the house dirty or dusty or being loud or using profanity. Like I said, I know all of my plumbers. I've known them for a really long time. They have kind of, I guess, like in a way, grown up with me as a woman, and I think that's another thing that I really appreciate with them. There's no ego with them, A lot of times in the trades or in trucking and things like that, it's really hard to be a woman in this industry. But rather than being hostile or being difficult to work with, they actually almost like protect me too much. And they're very protective of what we have as a company, which is, we support each other, we take care of each other. And I think that when you go to work and you have that, you're just a happier person. So, we're silly, we're fun, but we're also honest, and we also really do strive to give people a high quality product. I like to think that it's a well-rounded group.
Yeah. And so I've met Dom, David, Michael, and Joe, right? They're good guys. Bottom line in the beginning, you've worked on them for a long time, but talk about their progression from the contract driving to becoming plumbers, because to me that is a huge story as well. How did you get them there?
Yeah, it's one of the coolest stories. We contract with Amazon and they do a schooling program that's either tuition reimbursement or going to CDL. And then after they had done that for a while, Amazon opened it up to the trades. And when they opened it up to the trades, I reached out to my driving pool, which is about 200 drivers, and that's full time and part time drivers. And I just asked them, hey, you guys, no one was really interested in the college option. So they're opening it to the trades. What do you guys think? What would you guys like to do with that? We actually had 14 different people volunteer to go to plumbing school. So there were two options. There's two modalities. You can either go in person, and that's a little bit harder because that's actually in Chandler. Domingo and David did go and do that one. And then the rest of them have gone to like an online course where they're mentored in house afterwards. But it's really been fun because they've gone from an entry level position into an actual career where if they want to get their plumbing license or if they want to go and start their own plumbing company, I'm 100% behind them. I am cheering for them every moment. And actually, the big news right now at Benjamin Franklin Plumbing is we just had two plumbers buy their first house in the last month. Michael bought
That's
a
awesome.
house, and you were a part of Domingo's home buying process. So it just it makes me very emotional to see these young men who have been with me since they were 21, getting married, having children, buying their first house. I don't know that many employers get to see that progression. And that is the reward for my husband and I. Um, we are just so proud of them. A lot of these young men come from really, really tough lives where they didn't have the opportunity to go to college. It just was not in the books for them. So I'm beyond words and I'm beyond the ability of expressing how grateful I am to see that.
The commitment that you made to these guys, I really feel like as a client, as a customer of yours, it shines through. There's pride in what they do, and I don't think that's something you can just teach people. I feel like they feel like a part of the Benjamin Franklin family. And I use that because it is a family as far as I can tell. Because when I call the office, Rebecca and Dakota are
Mhm.
great and they're always super friendly, but it shines through, and it shines through on your social media. So, you guys make some pretty good videos, and I'm going to encourage everybody out there to find you guys on Facebook and look at some of your funny videos, but it shows that, they're not afraid to laugh at themselves and to kind of do that in a fun way with your company. And I feel like their company, because I really feel like they're part of it. And great job on promoting that kind of culture in a business. That means a lot.
Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. We're looking in the future, and I think probably by year 3, we're hoping to profit share, and it really is their business. I don't want to undermine the fact that I wouldn't be here without them. And I'm very aware that a lot of the success that Tom and I have had has been because we've had the privilege of working with such great people. And our goal is just to try and give back as much as we can and to support them and whatever their version of success looks like. So I hope that they stay with us as long as they want to, but when they're ready to leave, which is always the hardest thing, I will let them leave the nest, but I will be very, very, very sad.
Well, I can tell it's a reciprocal relationship that you have with them. Let's talk a little bit about the plumbing side now. What would you say? And plumbing to me is there's some planning, but I would say a big percentage is an emergency, right? I mean, if you're doing a remodel or something that's planned, but I have to imagine that emergency is a big part of it. What is like probably the most common emergency call that you guys get?
It's definitely leaks or no hot water. I think those are the two that kind of cause people the most distress. Your kids can't shower, or you're trying to get out the door, but you have a leak. Another one is, and I think this one is close, is just like a clogged drain, but that one's kind of manageable because you can just stay away from it. But when the house doesn't have hot water, the kids can't shower, we get a lot of calls from panicked moms being like, hey, my kids haven't showered in 2 days. Can you guys get out here and look at the water heater? So when a plumbing emergency happens, we always just try to tell people if it's a leak, just know where your water shutoff is. That's the most important thing. You can save yourself tons of money by avoiding an emergency call. Go shut it off yourself, and then we'll get to you in the morning.
Yeah, that's great advice. I make it a point to show homeowners when they're going through the home inspection process. And I take the spouse or the female and say, in case he's not here,
Yeah.
because my wife had to deal with that when I was deployed in the Navy. I was gone for over a year and I needed to make sure she knew where the shutoff valve was. So perfect advice for somebody if they have a leak. Yeah, the clog drain, again, avoid the sink, avoid the area if you can. When people are dealing with plumbing issues, what is one thing that just your average guy shouldn't attempt to do? Like go on YouTube and figure out, because a lot of people do that, right? I'm going to YouTube and figure it out. What would you say is probably the one thing that your experience or your guys have said they probably shouldn't do that? That's definitely a professional job.
Just from what I've seen on the streets, I would say don't replace your own angle stops. It usually causes actually a lot of drama because they will leak and it will be catastrophic. We don't even let plumbers who went to school replace those within their first 6 months because a leak from an angle stop is a nightmare.
An angle stop is the valve under the sink that shuts the water off, right? Where it comes out of the wall.
Yeah, and you have a lot of them throughout your home. You know, there's
Sure.
there's some washing machine under the sink. And then another one is like toilet supply lines.
Right.
The way I see it is if we do it for you and we make a mistake, we'll come back out and we will deal with it. We have insurance and, we will face the consequences of that. But if you go out and fix it yourself and then your whole house floods, it's just not a great thing to have to deal with. And I also am very anti people replacing their own water heaters. I just think there's a lot of code issues that can happen. You can ruin it by not doing it correctly. There's just a lot of things that plumbers know that the general population can maybe YouTube, but I'm sure there's a lot of husbands out there who have YouTube things and then eventually call the plumber. I know mine has. It always seems fun until it's not, right? Until you get into the walls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
I think that the one thing I want people to understand is the estimate thing. So people will call and say, "Hey, can you give me an estimate over the phone?" Or, "I have a leak here. Can you tell me how much it's going to cost?" Just for my own house, where I've renovated my house with my own plumbing company. When you get into those walls, when you start stripping things down to the studs, like you said, your drain might not be to code. You may have a PVC pipe paired with copper. And there just may be a lot of things that have happened in your home that you're not aware of and you can't see. A professional plumber is really the only person I would trust to touch my plumbing. Never a handyman. We're there because you hired a handyman. And that is the honest to God truth.
Sure. I tell people all the time, as my clients from my side of the business, there are things that I can say a handyman can fix this. But when I talk about electrical, plumbing, and roofing, there's
Mhm.
no way I would ever recommend anybody that isn't licensed and insured and bonded for that work. Because again, you're putting your license on the line, you're putting your insurance on the line, you're putting your reputation, and that speaks volumes because it backs up your work. And I never recommend anybody other than a licensed contractor for those jobs. So certainly understand that. I appreciate you for sharing all this. And what's the best way for them to get a hold of Benjamin Frank?